Welcome to How to Live Slow, the podcast where we discuss slow living for the modern woman and help you design an intentionally slower family life. I'm Rochelle Glendon, your personal slow living coach and host of this podcast. I know all about busy, but I love living slow. Enjoy the show. Well, hello and welcome to episode 71 of How to Live Slow. Today we're talking about creativity, which is very exciting, and I have a very special guest to introduce you to share with us the power of being more creative, of getting into art and using creativity as a tool to slow down, really, ultimately. Her name is Roz Gervais, and she is the founder of Roz Gervais Creative and the amazing art education website permissiontopaint.co. I think you are going to love Roz. She's a mum and is an amazing artist, and she has lots of insights into the power of creativity for mindfulness and finding a way to come back to yourself when motherhood gets a bit messy. And I think actually Roz will be the first artist that I've had on the podcast, and I guess it kind of reflects where I'm personally at in my slow living journey at the moment. The kids and I have started working on some nature journaling and art classes together, like little watercolor paintings. I've got an art journal happening and we've been practicing some new skills, and that's really fun. We even took our paints to the creek the other day and painted some scenery. It was beautiful. It was really fun. It was very relaxing, a nice way to enjoy nature from a different perspective. So yeah, I knew then that I had to have Roz on the podcast to talk about this. She was actually one of the guests inside the Mum's Mental Health Summit that Crystal from the Gentle Counsellor hosted. And I knew of Roz before that, but that's when I really got to know her a bit better. Because we were both speakers at that event, which was really fun as well. Now, just very briefly before I introduce you to Roz, I just did want to mention that a couple of episodes ago, I shared that I was relaunching Martyr to Matriarch for a third round, and that is my slow living and self-leadership course for gentle mothers. I've had a little bit of a rethink, and that is actually only just launching. We start on the 8th of November now. So doors are actually currently open to that, and it has an all fresh new name and it's a fresh new look. So it's now called the Matriarch Way. And as I said, it's my slow living and self-leadership course for gentle mothers, and it's 4 workshops plus there's a Facebook group that goes for 1 month, and in there I'll do the Q&As and I'll have journal prompts for you, and you can check all the information out at my website. It's howtoliveslow.com/method. So I'll leave links to that as well as all of Roz's links and resources that she mentions, including her free creativity guide that she'll talk about as well. I'll leave all of that in the show notes as per usual. So if you want to check any of that stuff out, just head to the show notes. But for now, I hope you enjoy this episode with Roz, all about permission to paint. So hi Roz, how are you? Thanks for joining me today.
I'm really well. Thank you for having me. Very exciting to be here. I love your podcast and I love everything you're about. So yeah, really, really excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. So I'm really excited to chat with you too, because I don't think I've had an artist or an art educator on today and on the podcast. And so today's like, you're my very first. And I must admit, I've been getting into painting a little bit more lately, with just to encourage the kids to start, Max is getting a little bit more artistic and getting a bit more than scribbles, like he can actually make out what he's drawing. I thought it's a good chance to learn alongside him, which is really fun. And it's so therapeutic. So exactly
it is amazing.
So I'm really excited to chat. So let's just get to it. Tell me about you and how you came to be an art educator.
Yeah, definitely. So my name's Roz Gervais and I'm an artist and an art educator. And I love that I'm one of your first artists. That's exciting. So I studied art way back in high school, and I did the whole, HSC over here anyway in New South Wales. And I did 3-unit art and all of that. And I'm very arty from the get-go. Then it came to uni and I decided to study design at uni, which is that whole typical thing. So when you're a creative being, just society, I suppose, I shouldn't blame it on the parents, but society sort of forces you into making money somehow out of your natural talents or your natural interests, hopefully. So I ended up studying design, and then I had a whirlwind of a career path, but it was coming back to my art studio and creating art regularly that sort of helped me to feel more myself. And it was like quite a deep feeling of coming home. I just think as adults, we're not allowed to play, or we feel like we're not allowed to play. We're not allowed to do something that is not, not productive. I guess not productive would be the word. Yeah. And so I don't know. It was amazing coming back to it.
Amazing. Yeah. And that does sound good. Exactly. You're right. Like productivity, everything is so focused on how can you add value. So yeah, to just do something for yourself is, and to be creative for its own sake is.
Yeah,
is
definitely.
So
And you've mentioned before in other of your episodes, the whole idea of matrescence and that transition. So I think for me, that was a really key reason for me to get back into painting was, painting gave me something that was just for me, like a sacred space for myself. I was modeling for the kids as well, and I model for the kids now, but still it's something that's special to me. It helps me to unwind at the end of the day, process what I might not even be actively thinking about the day, but it helps me to process the day and be present as well. So anyway, I came back to art and I absolutely loved it. It's given me so many benefits. And so because of that, that's why I'm an art educator now, in addition to creating my own art, because I want to share that with other people and help them to, tap into the benefits too.
Yeah, beautiful. I think you're right. Like it's so good for your well-being, right? Just in so many different ways. And I'm glad you talked about the matrescence part, because I think, we have to go through that journey, and I think we can lose ourselves as we become mums, particularly in the early years. So anything to bring you back. And I think painting is like when you sit down to read a book, it's frustrating when you get interrupted. But when you're painting, I feel like if the kids come and talk to you or ask for a snack, it's not as hard. I don't know. Or do you get into a flow? I'm not sure.
No, I think it's a different experience on this end. I definitely get into a flow, and I'll have a lot of paints and things around as well. And so I'll get nervous that my little one, I have 2 kiddos, that my little one will get her hands in there. Her favorite question is, "Mummy, is that wet?"
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I do have to be careful to manage that. But at the same time, I want them to be creating as well. So often enough, I'll set up an art space next to mine so they can create their own art with washable paints generally. And I can create mine as well. So, yeah.
I think that will be very heartening for some of the mums who are a bit nervous about doing craft and arts with their kids, because I know it can get messy.
It definitely can. The washable paints are seriously the best way to do it. And then also just setting up your space so that you've got minimal things that you're worried about, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the actual wellbeing benefits of being creative, particularly for mums. So have you got some extra things to add there? Yeah, definitely. So for me, because I've experienced so many sort of changes and benefits through allowing art into my life again, I've now helped other women to do the same sort of thing. And so I've seen a lot of transformations from other people within my art membership, for example, and other beautiful people who have been through some of my online courses and coaching sort of programs. So there's one gorgeous woman who was really, really scared to even start any of her painting journey. She had this idea she really wanted to, but she was scared to get started. And so she came across me and I helped her to get started, because I'm all about the positive encouragement and all of that. And now she's gone to being able to display her artwork in her own home on a shelf in her living room, which sounds, I don't know, it sounds small maybe to some, but actually that's quite a big step to be able to do that.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think it sounds like how do you explain it? It's sort of like that self-acceptance, like what I've created here is worthy. And
it's just huge, Rochelle. Like, honestly, because I've experienced it myself as well. So, putting my art out, I still remember the first artwork that I put on my website and how I spoke to myself about that as I clicked, the post button or whatever it was, submit, publish, whatever the button was. Just, yeah, there's a lot of self-development sort of opportunity, I guess I'm saying, in the arts.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she made that transition to displaying her art super proudly on a shelf at home. And then another of my students, she suffered from major anxiety. And so she was using art more to settle the anxiety. So I don't know if you have any experience or specific knowledge in the anxiety space, but she felt like she needed something to do with her hands.
Yeah.
Specifically in order to settle her sort of energy, I suppose. So that really helped her to find a way to find some peace. Yeah, and so I just have so many different stories of these gorgeous people who've found, grown and discovered all these benefits, like you're saying, self-worth and positive self-talk and self-expression and all of that.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I know of a lot of art therapy counselors, so I know that that's actually a thing. So I can see how art and being creative is so helpful. And I didn't really understand it until I sat down more recently and painted, following a tutorial where I hand painted like a sunflower or a nature scene. And we've started doing nature journaling, which is really fun. And it kind of clicked with me. Okay, I get it. It's like swimming laps in a pool. It's nothing. You can't do anything else to get that paint on the page. You actually have to really be focused in on that one thing. And it's sort of, everything else goes away. It's like moving mindfulness.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to run a lot as well, actually, for the same sort of feeling. Once you push yourself to a certain level of difficulty, you can't think of anything else. Your mind is completely empty and you're just going through the motions. So yeah, no, it's really, really beneficial.
Yeah, it's so good. And you've called your group and your course Permission to Paint, which I just love. I think but I do need to ask the question, why do you think women particularly, I'm sure actually thinking about it, dads and men in general probably are just as bad, if not worse, in needing to give themselves permission to be creative. You called it Permission to Paint. So why do you think we need to give ourselves permission?
So I get quite deep with this one.
That's what we're here for.
So yeah, Permission to Paint is, I don't know, it's a very meaningful name for me. And that's the name of my watercolor course, the first course I made, but it's not even relevant. I've been told off before that Permission to Paint is not a good name for a watercolor course, but I couldn't let go of it because it just meant so much to me. So anyway, that's still the name of the course. And Permission to Paint is now the name of my free Facebook group and then also my art school sort of website. So it is embedded and I'm so glad it is, because Permission to Paint, I mean, I just remember when I started painting more seriously with two little kiddos, and it was always that feeling of, is it okay if I go and paint now to my husband, and can I go and paint now? And those feelings of guilt as well around doing something that wasn't for the children, something that wasn't productive. I mean, I guess it is productive. I'm creating an artwork, but I don't know. I guess it's socially not considered productive. Yeah, so it's around that. And then also permission to accept who you are and accept that this is something that you need. For certain personalities, it's true, really arty, creative sorts, they have this need to create. And I feel it. It's ingrained in me. And I know it's the same for the people that I teach. Yeah, so it's permission around all of that. Because I think, especially as mums, we really struggle with that.
Yeah, beautiful. So it's almost like permission to put yourself first.
That's exactly it. And, even today, I still sometimes struggle with it. And I have to remind myself, Roz, no.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all right. So, yeah, but that's right. Permission to put yourself first. And it's really, really tricky for a lot of us.
Yeah, it really is. But I do also know that urge of like, you've got to do it, and that frustration that must come when you just feel like that's what you want to do, but there's this big hurdle emotionally or mentally or even socially to sit down and actually do it. Like that happens for me with words, and which is why I'm now like writing my book. Like I'll wake up in the morning and I've just got something in my head that I've just got to get out, and it's frustrating, and I'm tetchy with the kids because unless I get an opportunity to just at least make some dot points to get started. So I can, if you're feeling like you're a creative sort of person, or even if you, like, I don't know, growing up, I always thought, I'm not a creative person and I'm the business mind. And so I've kind of, I guess, more recently in recent years, unleashed that side of me a bit more. But I think, like you said, we're all creative in some way, and it doesn't have to just be paint, right?
Oh my goodness, I completely agree. So when you say I'm not a creative kind, I'm more of a business kind. Business is epically creative, like honestly, next level creative, because I'm experiencing it too, right? With the teaching side, that's business. So no, completely. So different types of creativity for sure. And then art is a single type of creativity. And I believe that we can all paint if we want to. So it's all about the desire, the interest. And that's it, really, that's it. So if you choose, then that is a path that you are welcome to explore. It's you decide that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've actually noticed, and this is totally anecdotally, but when, like, mothers, I think when you have your kids, that's you're creating life, right? That's a really creative time from a physical point of view. And I have noticed with mums that that's when it starts to come out that they might want to be more creative, or they've got that sudden deeper urge of, like, I don't know, they're just going to make something. And that's when I've seen, like, mums starting businesses, or, they start doing all sorts of other things. And I wonder if, I don't know. I think that's
I wonder if there's something even chemically there. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. I just think it's really fascinating because, like I said, we are all so creative, and it just comes out in different ways. So, yeah.
Or maybe it's more a yin and yang sort of a thing. So we're doing so much giving to our little people that we also need to give back to ourselves, maybe in other ways, other than, by our family as well. But maybe that's what it's about, or creative expression. I don't know.
Yeah, fascinating. Anyway, we're such interesting people, aren't we? So creativity, to my mind, and what you were saying about it feeling like productivity or not being productive, a productive thing to do. So creativity and slow living really do go together. They go hand in hand. So tell us a bit about, okay, how do you slow down, or what does that look like for you?
So the reason why I love your podcast is because I struggle to slow down. So it's definitely an issue for me. I'm a bit of an Energizer bunny, and I like to go, and then I crash. That's my style. But painting itself is amazing to help me to calm myself, a little bit like the student I was talking about before that needs to do things with her hands to calm her anxiety. That's a really good way for me to slow down my mind. So it's mindfulness, really.
Yeah.
So painting itself, I find really, really powerful. And then I do like to do a little bit of journaling as well, and a bit of mindfulness just throughout the day, throughout mum life. So being present when I'm washing dishes, or, doing the finger counting, or toe stretching and breathing activities and things like that, so that I'm present rather than dealing with my racing mind.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there, that, like, that busy feeling is actually more about how up in our heads we can be. So beautiful.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Can you tell us where we can find you online? I'm sure everyone's itching to see your artworks and to learn from you. Definitely.
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I've got 2 websites. So I've got one website for my art and one website for my teaching. So you can go and have a look at those ones. So my art school is called permissiontopaint.co, just CO at the end. And then my art website is rozgervaiscreative.com. I'm also working on a free guide, Rochelle, which I'm super excited about. Can I share a tiny bit?
Yes, go for it. We'd love to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one, I'm working on my name, so it might change between right now and when your podcast is published. But I'm calling it, I think, From Idea to Artwork, the ultimate guide for creating a painting that you're proud of. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. Yes, great.
All right. So I'm looking at creating that one at the moment. I'm halfway through. And I'm going to make that a freebie for people when they join my Facebook group, which you might want to, if you're welcome to list underneath your podcast if you want to.
Yes, I definitely will put all of the links to everything you've mentioned today. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Rochelle.
Wonderful. No, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you sharing that wisdom, and I hope it really encourages everybody to think about ways that they can get creative and learn a little bit more about painting. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
That's it for another episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like to connect further, the show notes from today's episode, including all the social links and free resources, are over on my website, howtoliveslow.com/podcast. Have a beautiful week ahead, and I'll speak with you again soon.